Welcome to the KTNPBlog guide to Arches National Park. We made so many memories and had a lot of fun exploring the arches, fins, and other rock formations in the park. We'll go over everything we experienced and hope it helps plan your trip. We focused on camping and hiking in Arches, but there's also backpacking, rock climbing, canyoneering, auto touring, and biking to do. The highlight of Arches National Park is the namesake sandstone arches. There are over 2,000 within the park, the highest density of natural arches in the world. The park was created in 1929 as a national monument before being designated a national park in 1971. It's home of the well-known Delicate Arch, which can be seen on tourism literature as well as the Utah state license plate. The fifth largest arch in the world, Landscape Arch, is also in the park. Over the past decade, the park has exploded in popularity, leading to long lines and crowded trails. As of 2022, the park has implemented a timed entry ticket pilot program for spring through fall. You'll need to reserve a ticket to enter the park between 6 a.m. and 5 p.m. Arches National Park is located in eastern Utah, near the town of Moab. The park is 76,679 acres, which is similar in size to Theodore Roosevelt and Great Basin National Parks. The park is small enough that we thought we had a good understanding of it as a whole by the end of our 5-day visit. In 2021, it had over 1.8 million visitors. Most people visit the park between May and September, though we recommend avoiding visiting during the hot summer months. We went in the spring, which afforded milder weather and somewhat fewer crowds. There aren't many services in the park, so be prepared. There is one campground, Devil's Garden Campground. It's located 18 miles from the park entrance at the very end of the main park road. There are no restaurants or other accommodations within Arches, but there's plenty of options nearby, especially in the town of Moab. Arches National Park Visitor Center is located just inside the park's southern entrance. It's the only visitor center in the park. The main park road runs north to south. There are a lot of sights to see either just off the road or along a short side road. We loved Devil's Garden Campground. It was an amazing place to camp. The location is perfect. There are many hikes close by, and you don't have to wait in line or get a ticket to enter the park. It was also quiet and well maintained. Devil's Garden has 51 campsites, with potable water, restrooms, and other amenities. You can reserve a campsite between March and October, otherwise it's first come first served. As with most national park campgrounds, this one fills up quick. The campground can get windy, so be prepared. Generally, sites with numbers in the 10s and 20s have better views and are more exposed to the elements. Sites numbered in the 40s and 50s, in the southern part of the campground, have more rock formations, for wind protection and privacy. Another advantage of the campground is access to Skyline Arch. The large arch is located near the amphitheater in the middle of the campground. If you're not staying at the campground, the arch can also be approached from the other side, with a short trail that leaves from the main road. Arches National Park Visitor Center has numerous exhibits with information on the geology and wildlife in the park. This is also where you pick up your fiery furnace permit. More on that later. Backcountry permits, on the other hand, are obtained at an office in Moab, not the visitor center. Outside of the visitor center, there's also a spigot with potable water to fill up. It has a slight chlorine taste, but it's very convenient to be able to fill up here. It gets hot in the desert, so don't forget your water. Before we get into the trails, let's talk about how to hike in the park. Stay on trails, rocks, or sandy washes. This will help you avoid stepping on cryptobiotic soil, a black, bumpy, dry soil that you'll see everywhere. The soil contains lichens, mosses, bacteria, and other living organisms. Biological soil crust helps control erosion and retains water. Walking on it destroys it, and it takes many, many years to recover. Our first hike in the park was Tower Arch Trail, located in Klondike Bluffs in the northwest area of the park. Compared with most hikes, this one is more secluded, and as a result, less crowded. Near Devil's Garden Campground is a turnoff for Salt Valley Road, a gravel road that leads 8 miles to the trailhead. The 2.5-mile trail is named after the namesake Tower Arch at the end. Along the route is also a rock formation known as the Marching Men, which looks exactly like it sounds. Occasional cairns guided us along the trail until we reached Tower Arch. The impressive arch has a span of 92 feet, and you can walk underneath it and behind the arch to explore even further. From the other side of Tower Arch. The route to Sand Dune, Broken, and Tapestry Arches is a relatively easy trail. You can combine multiple trails to form a loop, or even do just part of the hike. The first arch is Sand Dune Arch, hidden within sandstone fins. The previously dirt trail turns to sand, and it was very windy when we visited, so sand was blowing all around us. This is the most popular arch in the trail, since it's so close to the road. Broken Arch is next, after crossing a large prairie area. The arch appears to have a crack in it, but it isn't truly broken. Besides the arches, there's also some great scenic views on the trail of the snow-capped La Salle Mountains. This is Broken Arch. Following cairns and slick rock leads you to Tapestry Arch, a triple set of arches, though only one is a true arch. The trail then leads through Devil's Garden Campground, before looping back towards Sand Dune Arch. If you're staying at the campground, you could alternatively start the hike there, which is what we did. Right off the main park road is an easy trail that loops around a precariously balanced sandstone rock known as Balanced Rock. The short trail gives a nice introduction to the landscape of Arches National Park, with some nice views out into the La Salle Mountains. The longest maintained trail in the park is Devil's Garden. Located near the campground, this is a full day hike of 7.8 miles, but you can also do a much shorter route as well. There are 7 main arches with other minor formations. Side trails lead to the arches, and you can see as many as you want. The first 2 are Tunnel and Pine Tree Arches. Next is Landscape Arch. This is the longest arch in the United States, and 5th longest in the world. Many people hike to this arch and then turn around. A small viewing area nearby allows visitors to get a better view of the arch. In the past, visitors could go underneath, but parts of the arch collapsed in the 1990s, so it's now fenced off. The hike continues onto a more primitive trail. Prior to this, the trail had been a graded and gravel walkway. Naturally, there are less people the farther in you get. The path goes up a large fin, and a side trail leads to Navajo and Partition Arches. This is Navajo Arch. The main trail continues over a sandstone fin until arriving at an overlook for Black Arch, which is pretty hard to see, honestly. 10 minutes later, the hike arrives at Double O Arch, which are 2 arches stacked on top of each other. Another side trail goes out to a large obelisk called Dark Angel. Back at Double O Arch, the primitive trail starts, which is the most difficult part of the hike. There's some scrambling, pools of water, and steep rock faces to contend with, so only hike this part if you're prepared. A side trail from the primitive trail leads to Private Arch, the last major arch on the route.
Woo! Pretty steep right here. Okay. You can do this.
The primitive trail loops back around to Landscape Arch. This makes a great day hike. For a shorter hike, check out the Windows section of the park. There's 2 main hikes, both accessible from the same parking lot. First is the Windows Loop Trail. The trail heads to an arch known as Turret Arch before visiting North and South Windows, another set of arches. A short primitive trail leads around the back of the windows to complete the loop. Even though it's labeled primitive, it's not that hard. After completing the loop, the second hike is to Double Arch. This is only a half-mile round-trip hike to the arch, which you can see from the parking lot. Even though the trail is short, this was one of my favorite arches in the entire park. The arch's height and span are impressive. It's the tallest in the park and 3rd widest.
Why is it not focusing?
Naturally, the most crowded hike in the park is Delicate Arch Trail. Everyone wants to do this. There are 2 additional trails to Viewpoints of Delicate Arch. We weren't very impressed with these since the arch is so far away, but it's an option if you're short on time or don't want to hike all the way to Delicate Arch. Near the start of Delicate Arch Trail, there's Wolf Ranch, which was settled around 1898 by the Wolf family. Visitors can explore cabins and a corral from that time period, with signs that provide historical information. Soon after a bridge that crosses Salt Wash, there's also a short side trail to see some petroglyphs that were inscribed between 1650 and 1850 by the Ute Native Americans.
Is the path to Delicate Arch.
See it going up on the slick rock. Next, the hike ascends a large sandstone slope. It's entirely exposed to the sun and it can get very hot, so make sure you have plenty of water. Follow the cairns to continue on the trail to Delicate Arch. The path narrows significantly, and there is a steep drop-off to the left side. If you look to your right, with near here, there's also a smaller arch called Frame Arch. Look through it, and you'll see Delicate Arch. Back on the trail, it's a short walk to Delicate Arch. Enjoy it, and remember to respect the area and other visitors. There is one hike in the park that requires a permit. Fiery Furnace is maze-like due to its many tall sandstone fins. It's a set route, but not quite a trail. The park offers seasonal ranger-led tours, or you can hike it on your own. We hiked it on our own, since ranger tours weren't available in the spring. You can get your permit from recreation.gov. When you pick it up at the visitor center, all hikers will need to attend a mandatory orientation. The orientation goes over the rules in Fiery Furnace, as well as how to follow the route. Once on the trail, we followed small white arrows that pointed us in the right direction. The arrows were sometimes challenging to find. We got lost, explored, found random arches, and had a blast. Fiery Furnace is all about adventure and making your own way. Don't be afraid to get a little lost or go past a dead-end sign. Arches has lots of interesting hikes, but this one is particularly unique.
So you've seen people going like further like that?
Yeah.
Take a video.
Yeah.
It's awkward. Oh gosh, okay.
Thank you. Park Avenue is a shorter trail and is the first hike that you come to after entering the park. It descends into a canyon with views of some rock formations like the Three Gossips and Courthouse Towers. We hiked this after doing all the others in the park, and this was our least favorite trail. Not to say it's bad, but it's simply overshadowed by others. A large pictograph, known as the Courthouse Wash Panel, is located along the border of the park. A short trail leads to the pictographs, just north of Moab, along US Route 191. Unfortunately, the art was vandalized in 1980, and as a result, is severely damaged. Courthouse Wash Panel? When we were planning our trip to Arches National Park, it was our intention to go backpacking. But during our visit, the park was in the process of transitioning from dispersed camping to designated sites, so we weren't able to camp in the backcountry. There are 4 designated backcountry campsites that visitors can reserve. 1 is along the Primitive Trail in Devil's Garden, 2 are in Upper Courthouse Wash, and 1 is in Lower Courthouse Wash. The Courthouse Wash sites require some navigation skills, as the routes follow seasonal washes instead of defined trails. Whenever we return to Arches, a visit to one of the Courthouse Wash campsites will be on our to-do list. By the end of our trip in Arches National Park, we felt we had seen almost everything we had wanted to. That's the benefit of a smaller park. Everything we did, we enjoyed, and we're very glad to be able to explore this amazing place. Remember to protect the park, stay on the trails, and leave no trace. We hiked every official trail in the park. That said, when we return, there are a few more things that we wanted to explore. At the top of our list is a backcountry trip to one of the Courthouse Wash campsites. Also, a visit to Lost Spring Canyon in the northeast section of Arches. There are no trails there, but we wanted to explore and go off the beaten path. Some of the four-wheel drive roads would also be interesting to check out. For detailed information on everything you saw in this video, please check out our website, ktnpblog.com. Thanks for watching, and please like or subscribe.